Scottie Scheffler is absolutely balling the last few seasons. His comparisons to Tiger and that elite level of performance, he's just been phenomenal. So in this video, we're going to look at his swing and almost some of the unique aspects that have kind of not been taught a lot in modern day golf that make Scottie so unique and why he's dominating golf at the moment. So let's bring him back to setup. We've got face on and down the line. And let's see what Scottie's doing that allows him to be so dominant at the moment. So setup, we've got driver here. On the right hand side, you'll notice that nice stance width, just a little bit wider than shoulders that we see with a lot of players with driver. Really allows for a stable base of support. His grip, he works on this quite a lot. His grip in his left hand's fairly neutral, and so too on his right. He has a grip trainer on because his tendency is to get that left hand a little bit strong. So you'll see Scottie practicing a lot with the grip trainer. So really nice job here. You'll notice there's a little bit of foot flare in the right foot to allow rotation through the right hip, and a subtle amount through the left hip as well. Sorry, the left foot to allow rotation through the left hip. So really, really nice there. And then you'll see with driver a little bit of tilt in the spine. And then if we see from down the line here, now it looks like his shoulders are slightly open here because he looks like he's trying to play a little bit of a cut. You'll notice though, very neutral kind of lines to say he's playing a cut. They're not massively aimed to the left or massively aimed to the right if he was playing to a draw, just a subtle amount there. You'll notice he maintains a neutral spine. So that's very neutral spine for him, what he looks like at upright. You'll notice how the hands just hang outside the shoulders. You see that with a lot of great players. And then we've got a subtle amount of knee bend. So let's really get into the nuts and bolts now. So let's bring him into this takeaway position. So you'll see here, beautiful position. The hands are working back almost in a straight line. This club head works ever so slightly out. If you notice, just look how that club head's working out ever so slightly. Again, he's playing a fade here. He likes to move the ball. Those hands are working pretty much in a straight line here. You notice really nice one-piece takeaway. That club head is pretty much parallel to that spine. Loads of width, which we'll see on the face on camera, and that club shaft is pointing at the belly button. Really traditional one-piece. So let's look at him from face on, see what he does here. So we're going to notice, can you see that little bit of a bump to the right hand side there? You can see how his head moves. Yes, I know the camera's going to move a little bit, but you can see how he is definitely moving on to that right side here. Really powerful. Look at the width in the arms. Loads of space created between the butt of the club and his torso there, or his belly button. You can see he's really kind of loading into that right side, getting off the ball ever so slightly. And then if we bring him up to this sort of halfway back position, you'll see how, if we look at that hip, how it kind of bumps, now starts to rotate back. You can see, let's bring him into the same position. So he's got that bump, and then you'll see that right hip pocket start to move back and up. You can see that there, how that right leg has started to ever so slightly straighten as he works the hip back and up. You'll notice a little bit of hip tilt, a little bit of shoulder tilt, and Scottie doesn't have a ton of wrist set. You can see how he's kind of, see really from this face on, how he's kind of pushing those hands away. And some people have got this more like upright looking motion because they've got a little bit more wrist set. Scottie's just really getting off the ball and loads of width. Reminds me of like a Tiger or a Nicklaus move in like Tiger in 2000 or Nicklaus, where we have this little bit of a bump to the right hand side, loads of width and not a lot of wrist set. And then let's bring him a little bit further up, and you can see because he's not got that wrist set, that right arm's going to wander a little bit out a little bit more. So you can see how, look at that position as he gets to the top, and you can see all that width and that flying elbow, much like Nicklaus. Pretty good player, pretty dominant as well. And you'll see that here. Look how he's not really set his wrists a huge amounts, and look at that torso. Look how much he's getting behind the ball here. you can really see from address, if I put those lines on his head, look how much he has moved kind of off the ball there, and look at that rotation. Nice amount of rotation through the hips, but not a load, as you can see from down the line, not a load of rotation there. But look at that top of the backswing position. It's just powerful, really upright with the hands, quite tall. You know, it's something that has actively been kind of discouraged, of kind of getting disconnection. Everything's been taught like kind of connection and making it almost like Adam Scott kind of perfect, whereas Scottie's a bit of a throwback in a little bit more upright, a little bit more shift off the ball. And I think this really helps him to neutralize that shot shape and play different shots, but also it helps him out of the rough being a little bit more upright a lot of the time. So we bring him here, you can see how that elbow's really flared out, don't mind that. You can see if we zoom in, let's look at the little bit of extension in the wrist, but the club face is pretty much square to that forearm, that lead forearm there. So it's just very neutral, which allows him, like I've said, to hit those draws, hit those fades, work the ball high, work the ball low. And that's where the comparisons to Tiger come in, because he can get a pin on the left, he can get a pin on the right, because he can shape all these shots. So now let's look at the downswing. And Scottie's powerful. You know, he can get it up to 180 ball speed that a lot of people don't realise. So I really like to see what's happening in the hips and the knee as we work down. So you can see, just bring him up to that, as he starts the downswing, you can see, and the first move there is a little bit move to the left here. And you can see, he doesn't move a ton down, but he very quickly moves to the left in terms of, look how much laterally he's moving towards the target in a short amount of time there. So you can see, sorry this camera angle is a little bit blurry, but you can see how quickly he's moved back onto that left side when that lead arm is parallel to the ground. So let's bring him on to face on, and you'll see this powerful move where he gets that lateral shift. You can see how kind of compressing those hips and creating that power and speed on the down the line. You can see that, boom. And what you'll notice, yes, he's got that flying elbow, but look how he then starts to internally rotate. You see that? Look at that elbow. Watch how it's working internally there at the top to create that shallowing as he moves laterally. So he gets that elbow, it starts to kind of pinch it back in. I mean, very athletic kind of move. Not something that, you know, a lot of guys would teach. You know, a lot of guys now would say, oh, that shaft's way too steep compared to, you know, some guys you'd see that shaft a little bit more here and you'd see more angles in the body. Scottie doesn't do that. He's a little bit more upright, and I think a lot can be said for that. It reminds me more of a Nicholas or a Tiger in 2000, and let's bring him in the same position. Now, what I'm looking at is more these fundamentals of, like, the right elbow's below the left there, even if he's got it in a funky position. Yes, that shaft's a little bit steep looking into comparison to what's taught nowadays, but watch what he does here. He'll start to shallow it out here, and also just look, I mean, you can kind of see it from face on. Look how much bend he's got in that left arm here. Again, pretty unique, but a lot to be said. And a lot of people, like, you know, if you've got this flying elbow and it's, oh, it's wrong, well, not really. You know, it's just these fundamentals of shallowing the club here. Let's bring him down to this pre-delivery. You can see how much his body's kind of rotated out of the way here. Let's bring him on to face on. You can see now he's got this lateral move, and you'll see how the hips now start to rotate up and clear, because he's really kind of jumping at it. There you go. But you're seeing this very kind of neutral position with that club face there. Let's bring him a couple more frames. Sorry, just moved it. More frames down here, and you'll see how that shaft is slightly outside. Like I say, he's wanting to hit a little bit of a fade here. Let's bring him down. You'll really see, this is where Scottie looks kind of unique in the fact, look at that right foot, how it's jumping up off the ground, and look at that sorry, the left foot. Look at the right foot, how it's sliding. Now Scottie does this to make sure that he gets his weight forward, because you can see, because he moves back off the ball quite a lot, if he stays on that right side, he's going to hit some poor shots. So allowing that right foot to slide just makes sure that his weight gets to his left. Think of Nicholas Player back in the day, how he walked after shots. Scottie's kind of doing a similar thing there. All it is that foot's just dragging towards the target. It's not anything really funky. I mean, that left foot movement, you see that with a lot of players. It's just that right foot just gets him off that right side, and you can see it on here. Now it looks like he's kind of like moonwalking almost because of that right foot sliding, but like I say, it's just in a way to get to his left side. And what I also want to note is, look at that left butt cheek, how he gives himself lots of space by pushing that left foot back, sliding that right foot forward. I just love this move. It's quirky, it's unique, but there's a lot of good reasons why he's doing that. And I'm looking at Scottie's swing as like, yes, we could say, oh, flying right elbow doesn't look pretty. Oh, it looks a bit steep there. His left arm's a little bit bent. But if we look at the fundamentals, look, we've got a nice one-piece takeaway, loads of width, club face is square here. Yes, it's steep looking, but look, that club shaft is definitely shallowing. That centre of mass of the club is behind the hand path. So what's the issue here? And you could say, you know, by modern teaching, maybe that's a little bit open, but not really. I mean, you look there and it's pretty much square to his backline. You know, he's hitting a fade here, I think. I just love this move. Like I say, it's not for everyone because it's not kind of that Adam Scott or, I don't know, Tiger in 2000, you know, perfect, no moving parts. There's a lot of moving parts, but that's what I think we can take from Scottie's swing is there's so many moving parts, and he's a golf player in the fact that he hits shots. He's not one-dimensional. A lot of these guys on tour now can hit one shot, whereas Scottie's hitting all these shots, and I think a lot of that is because he's not kind of doing that cookie cutter approach where it's just one swing. He's, you know, got kind of different shots and everything like that because he's pretty neutral and he's kept it athletic. He generates a ton of speed. I love this action. I hope you've liked this analysis. Any comments, please fire away, ask any questions, and check out any of my other videos of swing analysis. And if there's anyone that you want me to see analyze, just drop a comment in the comment section.